Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons monsters as it happens, but I have some friends with me from the Dungeon Master Roundtable. We're going to explain to you how you can make your Medusa more interesting, fun, strange, or weird in your Dungeons & Dragons game. But before we do that, let's get everybody to introduce themselves. Teni.
Hi there, my name is Denny Dicely. I run the Dicely D&D YouTube channel. If you want to learn how to play D&D 5e, I've got a video series for you, as well as a podcast where we talk about tabletop and D&D specifically.
Hey, I'm Steely. I do D&D lore shorts, and I do live streams of D&D modules.
Hey folks, Wally DM here, and I have a YouTube channel that focuses on puzzles and traps.
Let us know, Denny, what have you got for the Medusa? What can you do with this thing? Supercharge it, what?
So, introducing the Medusa. Medusa is typically envisioned as a humanoid woman, but with the exception of having snake-like hair and the ability to, or more, the curse rather, of being able to petrify to stone individuals who look at them. And the idea I've got with this monster is more of an NPC idea as opposed to combat or anything like that. In a setting where this kingdom has kind of evolved beyond its barbaric traditions. You know, they used to have public executions, everybody used to go crazy for that sort of thing, but we've moved past that culturally. But the populace is still kind of missing that sort of thing. They've figured out this new system where instead of actually publicly executing people, they've decided to create statue effigies of prisoners meant for the to be hung or so, and have just brought them out, and these statues are destroyed instead. But as it so happens, the executioner in this kingdom is secretly a Medusa, and they commission a statue for these prisoners the night before they're meant to be destroyed. So they visit them in their prison cells, turn them to stone, and then bring them out the following day for their execution. The Medusa might do anything that maybe it thematically fits the crime of the individual, so maybe it's shattered or an explosion, magic fire, I don't know what. And then throw a little bit of a grotesque element where, after the event, citizens may come up and continue vandalizing the remains of the statue.
I just have I have this image in my head of a bunch of young kids with sticks going around bashing the statue till they break all the bits off.
Yeah.
And then getting spray cans out and writing their name all over it.
Charles was here.
Yeah, something like that. Or Bob often. Yeah, Bob.
Classic
It
Nice.
is. What do you got, Sam? What have you got for the Medusa?
The idea of turning people into stone is almost always a punishment, and I would like the idea of turning somebody to stone to be a utility. And the only thing that I could think of was the ability to not need to breathe and sink in water. So maybe a guard for an underwater city that a Medusa turns you to stone and then you sink down to the bottom. That could be the way in, or deliver goods to the bottom by turning person into stone and then having them sink to the bottom.
That's almost like an intro puzzle in itself. Just how do I get down there and everything, and that's I love that idea. That's awesome.
Does that mean, Sam, that maybe you could have the Medusa turn people to stone, but they're living stone rather than like stone statues?
Absolutely.
Because that would really put another twist on things. I suspect there would be a few players who'd be quite happy to be a stone statue rather than a flesh statue. Certainly until chips come off, and when the chips and the cracks start to show and they're like, oh, can I be healed? Oh, no, you kind of fall under a construct. Guess what? You know that spell that does healing? It doesn't apply to constructs. So guess what? Cure wounds and healing word won't work on you. You're screwed. Eventually, you're going to show too many cracks. But till then, you're all good.
That'll be mending.
Yeah. I thought mine was evil. Wow.
Wally, what have you got for us? The Medusa.
The Medusa. So I went with an NPC as well, and I am going to make my Medusa a noble of a village or town, but she's never anywhere usually longer than an hour. And this is because my Medusa is going to be a sorceress that has first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth level spells. And she is constantly going to be using the disguise self spell so that she can move about and do things freely. Now, she is a bit of a romantic. She finds someone and falls in love. And part of that relationship ends up being that she turns those folks into statues. So her home, which is, I imagine, this big old mansion or place like that, has all of these statues of these folks that she has falling in love with at one point or the other. And then, of course, when she gets bored, then she'll go out and she'll find someone else. So this would be a beginning point of some type of a plot or side quest that I would do for an adventuring party. Is perhaps they are at the Golden Sturge Inn having a few drinks, and this lovely lady comes up and talks to them. And she has actually picked one of those as her next relationship goal. So she'll either swipe left or right. I forget how that works.
I had two ideas. The first one, I won't go into too much detail, but I was thinking, what would be the sort of thing that sort of exemplifies the Medusa? And the Medusa is sort of like an attempt to defy aging. So what if you have a monarch, like a queen, and she's actually gotten older and older and older, and really she's chosen to become a Medusa, and now wears a mask and is ageless, and in her castle more and more statues pop up from time to time when she decides that she's a bit angry with somebody. Somebody put a fly in her soup, and so they wind up as the garden ornament, or the statue just outside the gates of the castle walls, or something like that. So I was thinking in terms of that, but in truth I feel really sorry for Medusa, because Medusa, if you look at the original lore, which is Greek, is Poseidon basically took her, and seriously, it's like rape, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a dark story.
It's a dark story. It's a very dark story. And then once the god has had her way with her, she goes to the one god that she's been worshipping, and asks and pleads for help. And Athena, enraged, decides that it's her fault and turns her into this thing. This is an example of two gods that really kind of suck. So I feel really sorry for Medusa. So I was trying to come up with a story for a Medusa that actually didn't come across as being a complete sort of a story, because a lot of Greek mythology comes across as the gods just being petty little 2-year-olds. So it's true, they are like 2-year-olds. So I was thinking, what about like a garden druid who is a Medusa for whatever reason? Maybe it's been inflicted on her by a god who's got serious problems and is trying to duplicate the kind of drama that you see in Days of Our Lives or other soap operas, and she winds up with the snakes and all the rest and the gays and all, but she's not actually a bad person, and she doesn't really want everybody to wind up suffering at her hands, but she's got this large garden in the forest that she looks after, and over time more and more statues keep cropping up because everybody who meets her winds up turning to stone. So she spends the vast majority of her time trying to transform them back from stone to their former life. So, you know, whether it be going after a basilisk to get the blood of a basilisk, or taking her own blood and using that to actually correct the problem. So it's a constant battle for her as more people who come up, as she turns around, somebody just happened to walk through the forest at the wrong time and like, oh, sorry, you're a stone. And then she's got to spend all that time trying to fix them and correct. So she's not actually the baddie, although she may appear that way initially when you come across her. She's actually trying to heal them of the affliction of being petrified. I thought that would be a better story for Medusa than some of the other stories that kind of get floated around.
I like it. Pretty good.
Is good.
That actually gave me another idea for the Medusa. That first part was the the queen turning him into stone. I like the idea of them turning people into stone to preserve them. That's actually kind of cool.
And bouncing off of that, a lot of times when people like describe going into a Medusa lair, there'll be like statues of people in like horrified poses or something. What if a Medusa tried to set up situations to get them in like the perfect pose for like a beautiful stance or art or something? Like a painter who's just like, all right, hold still, now I look at you.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Welcome to my gala.
Nice one. Okay, thank you, everybody. That was great. We had some good ideas there. Using a Medusa outside of the standard, they're in the statue of gardens, and you've got to be careful and use your mirror and defeat them and kill them, and then, of course, take their head and take out the Kraken, which is, of course, the story that everybody tries to play out if they can. The last thing you want is your players walking around with a Medusa head. By the way, for Dungeon Masters who haven't figured it out, they will think of it. Don't you worry. I know mine have. And yes, they will. They will put it in a sack. They'll get that sack that they've been using on all the people that they've captured and tortured and so forth, and they're gonna stick that Medusa head in that sack and then carry it around and try and take out every single monster with it. So yeah, be careful. But let us know down in the comments section how you would use the Medusa in your Dungeons and Dragons game. Thank you to everybody, and hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.
So you guys gave me like a couple more ideas off of that. I like that idea of, so one of my ideas for the Medusa was going to be, I know we're done recording, but I didn't think this is worthy enough to include, but where her powers wasn't as good as the other ones. I was just like, what would she turn him to wood? Would she maybe turn him to like mud or something like that? But when when Sam dropped them down there, and I think Fred said it, I think it would be hilarious if they turn him to stone, like you said, turn him to stone, but they're still active. So she's like, gosh dang it, they're not statues, they're stone, but they still walk around and do stuff. I think that was hilarious. And then I like how Denny solved the prison, prisons being overloaded. You just bring a Medusa in, and their sentences, they just get turned to stone, and then you just like shove them all into one little corner or something like that. You don't have to worry about feeding the prisoners or whatever else. When their time is up, you just unstone them. Yeah.
I just had a terrible thought too. Like the statues that get destroyed, they get converted into gravel, and those are the streets. Oh, no.
That's all right. Now
I love what you've done with the roads in this city. They're beautiful.
I'm upset that I didn't think of a new material besides stone. Turn them into diamond, wood, whatever.
Oh,
what about Jello?
That's so good. That's so good.
Jello.
Jello. Turn them into gelatinous.
Jello.
Turn them into Jello, and then sell them on the side of the street or in a shop as a dessert.
This is a terrible place to live.
Dear. Okay, I better stop recording because we've definitely gone into some dark areas here.